Welcome everybody to another 12 o'clock show with Mayor Joe, a special income tax edition of the 12 o'clock show. So if you're still watching after hearing that, please let me introduce you to Lori, our tax administrator. Hi Lori, how are you today?
Wonderful, thanks Mayor.
Oh, I'm happy you're on the show. Got a lot of good information that you have to share with us. And while I kind of make fun that income tax is not always the most exciting thing to talk about, usually when income tax is discussed here, I'm very excited. That's how cities typically get a lot of their funding, and so I always like to have those good conversations. So first of all, kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to Reynoldsburg.
Well, first, thank you for having me on the show, and yes, I get excited too about income tax. So call me a tax geek, I'm not sure, but so to tell you a little bit about myself, I have the heart and spirit of a Buckeye. Along with a bachelor's and master's degree from the Ohio State University. I come to the city with 24 years of municipal income tax experience, holding various positions with the City of Columbus, as well as the Regional Income Tax Agency, also known as RETA. For 18 years, I served as Reynoldsburg's government liaison with RETA. So with that experience and my education, I knew that if given the opportunity, I could make an impact here at the city. Not to show my age, but since childhood, I have witnessed the growth of Reynoldsburg community and the city services, and I'm excited to be now part of the team and know that we are making an impact here at the city.
Oh, absolutely. You've done a phenomenal job just in your short time being here, kind of thrown in with a lot of unique things that we'll hopefully get the chance to talk about today. So for everybody at home, you come in, what exactly do you do? What does a tax administrator do for the municipality?
Well, Mayor, in simple terms, and you kind of alluded to this, under the direction of Auditor Sisek, the tax administrator collects the money that pays for the bulk of the city services. Mm-hmm. So, but no pressure,
no,
right?
Not at all, no.
So, and I have to give a plug to all of our other departments too, because those services that are provided, those teams do a great job. I know one for sure, like now, Kim in our Parks and Recs, she's doing a shamrock scavenger hunt. So if you haven't seen that, go to our webpage and take a look. So to continue with that and kind of the day-to-day, what do I do to accomplish the tax administration and collection in the most cost-effective manner? The city currently partners with the Regional Income Tax Agency, also known as RETA, or on social media, sometimes a few other choice names.
Just a
None
few.
that can be repeated here.
Family show.
But it is important to note that RETA is a government entity. We, the municipalities, we have formed RETA as a shared service. So the sole purpose of that in coming together as a Council of Governments is for the sole purpose of income tax administration. By collaborating with our other neighboring communities such as New Albany, Worthington, Grove City, and about 400 others, we are able to capitalize on economies of scale, hire teams of subject matter experts, and handle those what might be classified as routine tax processing as a whole. That said, one of my main functions is to then monitor and make sure that Reynoldsburg service levels with RETA are where they need to be, and I work closely with that RETA team daily.
Well, it's interesting because there's a lot of different facets of your job. It's not just income tax, there are a lot of other things that kind of go along with it. So what are some of those other things that you do just outside of just like your specific income tax that comes out of everybody's paycheck?
Right, so outside the use of my technical background, most of what I do involves educating, communicating, and building relationships. That could be internally, externally, with our residents and businesses, our legislators, and other municipalities. Some examples in this past month have been taxpayer assistance and working with AARP as they assist our seniors with their 2021 tax filings. Monitoring proposed tax legislation that might have a negative impact on the city's revenue and or its services, and then analyzing tax data. A couple examples of that recently were well, on a monthly basis. As you know, I work to keep you and Auditor CISAC apprised of any fluctuations or potential fluctuations with that for city budget purposes. And then most recently, some of the tax data that I worked with in analyzing was dealing with the work from home that a lot of businesses have rolled to because of the pandemic. To be able to share with you as elected officials, but then also our council members of what the potential impact could be of that shifting in withholding dollars. I also represent the city on several JED or Joint Economic Development District boards, as well as local and state tax groups and committees.
Now, JEDs are interesting because this is something that maybe not a lot of people outside of this world that we live in understand what a JED is. What exactly is a JED, and why does everybody care?
So a JED is, again, it's a Joint Economic Development District, and what that does is it allows in this case, the municipalities that have an income tax to partner with, in our case, a township, so that those parcels within that township can be developed to enhance both communities or the whole surrounding area. So since joining the city, a large amount of my time has been spent on those JEDs because they're just outside of the infant stages. So there was a need to develop mapping, street listings, reports, audit some of the previous work that we had done in the infant stages, identify going forward some needs, develop or amend existing processes, educate businesses, and conduct compliance work. And one of my, I think, happy to say, one of the success stories of late was in doing so and working closely with Rita, we were able to recover approximately $220,000 from just one business in one of our JEDs. So the work often requires that we work closely with Rita, the township, city and county employees, as well as payroll companies and sometimes on-site construction companies. So
that has to be fun.
Yes. So again, I go back to relationships and communications are key. Another area that we've been working with is the Licking Heights School District on the Reynoldsburg E-Zone, and that's required working with select payroll data in order for us to be able to share tax revenue with the district. I've reviewed in the last month the payments and or the statements, I guess, and made payments for our county property taxes, as well as filing for amendments or abatements. Also work internally with our service department, building department. That helps me to ensure that we have updated street listings. We know who are the new residents, who are the new businesses, and we also work with Rita to get some registration information out to them. A few examples, lastly, I guess, on the finance side that I work with is I handle the city's bank reconciliations, daily receipt reconciliations, quarterly payroll filings, and W-2 submissions.
So all those exciting things that are going on.
Very exciting.
So for those of you, just to kind of give you an idea, take the finances a little bit. So we all know that our JED agreement is with Etna Township, and so let's say, for instance, they have a FedEx facility out there. So FedEx, in theory, is supposed to pay their income tax at 2.5%, and then that money is then divvied up between all the entities that are kind of involved. So it would be the township, the school district, Southwest Licking, Reynoldsburg, and then some of the Licking County services that would go around that. So that's how it would be spread out. So while FedEx maybe generates X amount of dollars, that 2.5% doesn't all come to Reynoldsburg. It does get funneled to these different organizations, but an advantage of a JED is that they're not really in our property. They don't really rely on our services and infrastructure, but we do get a little bit of piece of the pie when it comes to the money based on, how many jobs they have and things of that nature. So that's one of the benefits that's there. So we'll see how that kind of goes. I know there's some extra room out there in Etna for that, but we'll see. But I'm encouraged by starting to see some of those returns. You mentioned that we're kind of in that early stage. of everything. I mean, a lot of these jets were started up, and then all of a sudden COVID hit. So I know there was a Kohl's distribution center that took a lot of time to get going. Actually furnished. So it just took a little time for those employees to get there. And even right now with staffing issues, not all of them are operating at 100% capacity. So, but that's something else that we'll talk about a little bit later. Now, is there a busy time of the year for you, or, oh, I skipped a question, I'm sorry. If a resident does have a question, because obviously I'm sure there's plenty of questions out on social media about income tax. If they have a question, how would they get in contact with you, and what kind of things do you think you would hear from residents about income taxes?
Well, you can go to our webpage. My phone number is there, as well as an email. I'm always willing to assist when I can, but each tax situation is different, so it depends on whether or not I may direct you back to Rita, or may direct you to some of the resources that are available either on the Reynoldsburg income tax site or the Rita website. In most cases, those tools, technology, and services are available through our partnership with Rita. It includes, if you're not aware, 24-hour phone service, online options that allow you to register, file, make payments, check estimated payments. You can request a form if you'd like, a hard copy form. That's just to name a few of the resources available. In addition, the Rita office here in Worthington offers taxpayer assistance by appointment only. However, I do want to, point out too, should a resident ever have a concern or issue with Rita, I do encourage them to contact me directly. That's part of the role here that I serve for the city. We don't know that there are issues or problems if we don't know. We don't know what we don't know, I guess. So if you could reach out to me, and we'll be happy to assist, again, where we can.
So you're saying that if there's a problem with Rita, they probably shouldn't necessarily go to Facebook for answers, or they should go to Rita and you for answers? Because that can be confusing.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Okay,
you should go
just
to me or Rita for answers. So we do recognize, I will openly address that too, we recognize that taxpayer education is an area actually of opportunity for us. And we have been making strides with that since I have come to the city. And for instance, now we do have a couple of one-page forms available on the Rita website, because I know there are some people out there that say, oh, that Rita form, it's just too difficult. I would encourage you first, if you are technology savvy and you're willing, they do offer a very easy online filing application. And once you do it the first year, it's even easier the second year, because it auto-populates fields for you and the like. So try that out. If you don't want to do that, I'd like to share with you, we have tailored this one-page form here a little bit. It's on the on the Reynoldsburg website for Reynoldsburg, and this is a one-page easy file form. You just simply complete your name, address, sign the bottom, attach your tax information, mail it in, and Rita will calculate the tax for you. The other one-page form that I want to point out is really more so for our seniors. There are a few other options, but this is the exemption form, and this can be found both on the Reynoldsburg website as well as the Rita website. And this is if, for instance, you are retired, you no longer have any earned income, such as rental property or partnership involvement. You can complete this form one time, and once you complete that, your account is then marked as retired, and you no longer have to file again with Reynoldsburg unless you decide to go get a part-time job or something of that nature. So those are a couple ways that we're trying to help educate, make things a little bit easier. The other thing that I'd like to point out, Mayor, is last fall we ran our compliance program for the first time since the pandemic hit. We were well aware of that. We tried to be a little bit more lenient and work with our residents that maybe had forgotten to file that during everything else that was going on. So that included a friendly reminder as well as a subpoena. So we did help bring many of the residents into compliance. But if that's still you, it's still not too late. And I would encourage you to, again, use some of those resources. reach out to me directly or to the Regional Income Tax Agency. Now is a good time. If this is the first time that you have been late, we're happy to work with you too on abating late fees and the like. So, but now is the time you need to take action.
So you mentioned, obviously last year's tax time, and I know the dates changed, over the last couple of years. Instead of the usual April 15th, they had some adjustments. So is there a busy time of the year for you? Is there a point that it's just like, this is, you're going to call them back usually in 24 hours. Now you're going to have to call them back a week later because it's just, there's so much stuff going on. Is there a specific time like that?
Well, really there's this misconception that tax season is our busiest time. Really all year long is very busy for us. In fact, other seasons may be busier depending on changes with legislation and the like, and or new growth, certain things like that. We often, again, the reason why it maybe doesn't seem as busy to us as the tax employees is because we try to plan for tax season, and thereby we make that the focus of the season, the taxpayer assistance and answering questions and calls and trying to help them where we can.
Okay. Now, is there you kind of hinted around a little bit earlier, is there a best part of your job? Is there something that you really love about being a tax administrator? Yeah,
I would say that I really enjoy assisting and getting to know the residences and the businesses, that whole communication piece, and building those relationships, collaborating too with my colleagues, and knowing that we're making an impact.
That's good. Now, this is March 2nd, so March 1st actually kicks off our National Women's History Month, and so I thought of no one better to actually bring into this discussion than you to kind of kick our show off in recognition of that.
Thank you.
One of the things, my wife's a math teacher, and there's always this misconception about, women in math. There's always this kind of thing that goes out there, so I think that you being in the position that you are in shows that, math is for whomever wants to do it. It's not anything beyond that. So do you have any advice that you would like to give to, any of the women that are out there watching or that might share with their daughters at some point in time about how to get involved in a career, either accounting, finance, tax administration, and mathematics? Because I will never get involved in mathematics outside of the budget. I'm just letting you know right now.
Okay.
I'm not a fan.
All right. Well, and as the mayor says, you either like numbers or you don't like numbers. So you probably know that already. But I think really, Mayor, my advice could really apply to young women, but not just young women, to young people. So, and I know that you young people are much more technology savvy than I. So for you, I have put this here because I know your phones are right next to you. So I would like you to take a quick snapshot of this so that you have this. And so Lori's advice for young people is to always be open to change. Listen more, talk less. You've probably heard some of these possibly already from others. But I may or may not have learned some of these the easy way or the hard way along the way. I have a couple starred. This next one is starred because these are probably a couple of my favorites. Believe in yourself. Strive to be the best version of yourself every single day in all facets of your life. Your relationships, your faith, your career, and yourself. Take risk and don't be afraid to fail. Invest in yourself and continue your education throughout your career. Always ask the worst they can do, always ask because the worst they can do is say no. And always hire people smarter than you. You are future leaders. And as a true Buckeye, I would be remiss if I did not remind you that when you get there, don't forget to pay it forward.
Absolutely. Well said. Thank you very much. Great advice on there. So I'm going to ask and see if there's any questions from the audience. This is the moment where everybody kind of holds their breath and is something there, is not something there. So go ahead. Do we have any questions so far?
We did get one question, and I think you really touched on it quite a bit, but this kind of goes to renters and maybe bringing awareness to renters. It says, you mentioned outreach to new residents and businesses. We still hear complaints often that new people don't know about Reynoldsburg as a mandatory filing in the city. How else can new residents, particularly renters, be made aware of this? I know you've touched on a lot about the website. Can you think of anything else as far as our renters that we could
Yes, we actually have been talking about possibly getting together with some of our apartment complexes here in the city, providing maybe a one-page flyer to them, partnering with the schools on that. So not only would we be providing maybe in welcome packets, either here at the city or at the schools, or providing those right there at the apartment complexes, information about the city income tax as well as the school district income tax.
Perfect. That's it.
So you've escaped the gauntlet. You are more than welcome to stay. I've got a lot of great things to talk about today. And usually the rest of the questions come in for me later on. So happy if you're here to stay for a little bit. We do have our couple of things coming up. We have our charter commission. So right now, the City of Reynoldsburg every 5 years goes through kind of like takes a look at our charter. These are the rules by which the city has to operate, and then we try and find ways to alter, switch, make more efficient, something along those lines. And it's your opportunity as citizens to go ahead and make those recommendations. So you're able to submit these recommendations to our Clerk of Council, Molly Prasher, by March 14th. So if you think that something should happen and change a little bit to, that you think should be more efficient, go ahead and send the suggestion in. Maybe it's part of our charter, maybe it isn't, but it's some of those rules that we can kind of do things. I'll kind of give you an example. We have two commissions for all the development in Reynoldsburg. We have what is called the Building and Zoning Appeals Board, and then we also have our Planning Commission. Each one has their different rules. They have different objectives and things, and one of the suggestions that is coming in is actually to combine those groups, so that way each side understands that they can kind of get all of things done at once instead of kind of redundancy going to two different commissions. But it also allows, the BZBA actually has a little bit more teeth in what it terms as far as what's allowed in the community versus what is not. And so sometimes you want to have that right there. So if a development is coming in and, for instance, there was a time where there was talk about apartments on Main Street across from the open field, BZBA actually shot that down because they didn't feel that it fit everything in there. And that helped the process, but at the same time, it had already gone to Planning Commission, and Planning Commission was actually bound by saying, okay, pending BZBA. So it kind of made them go through an extra step. If it had just been one, it would have been easier, and the idea is to try and let developers know, yes, this is going to work, or no, this is going to work faster, so that way nobody's wasting money. So that would be an example of some of the things that have been suggested. The next step after the 14th is the commission is going to review all of these things, and then they'll vote and recommend any changes to the charter to City Council on June 13th, and then they'll go through the three-step process and get everything submitted to the Franklin County Board of Elections, and on November 8th, people will be able to vote on those particular items. So if you're interested in that, again, reach out to Molly Prasher, our Clerk of Council. Did want to give you a little bit of updates on Main Street. As you notice, there's a couple of things going on out there. The AEP and our construction crews are working really hard to push that conduit and get everything lined up so that way they can take down those power lines sooner rather than later. The next step after that, which hopefully again will be in probably about 2 to 3 weeks if the weather holds, is when they're going to start working on some of the sidewalks and things of that nature. So that construction area right now that is just kind of locked in at Main and Lancaster is going to slowly start to move out of the intersection and move back. We are also continuing to work with engineers and the on-site people to work about ways to get the traffic to flow a little bit easier during construction season. But I think once it gets out of that intersection, I think that's going to help significantly to free up that area. So that's our Main Street issues. I did participate in probably the most eventful class of the Citizen Police Academy. I didn't know if you knew we did this. So we have a Citizen Police Academy that anybody can participate in, and last week's class was scenarios. So you, based on the classwork that we've already done and kind of the information we've been given, are presented with 3 specific examples of what police officers are faced on a regular basis with, and then it's up to us, the individual, to go in and handle those situations. I'm not going to tell you what it was, but what I will tell you is everybody in the class who came out of it afterwards said the same thing. Wow, my heart is still beating, the blood is still pumping, it is all of those different types of things. Even though everybody knew that nothing was real, there was no imminent threat to us, to anybody, everything was just kind of like a role-playing exercise. We all knew that, but every one of us, our blood was just, I mean, we were all antsy for about a half an hour. It took me about a half an hour to kind of calm down and decompress from what the officers go through. And that was 3 things at, right back to back to back. But believe it or not, the officer said that stuff happens a lot, that they can go from one extreme issue to the next, to the next, to the next. and there's no time for them to decompress because there's other things to do. So that was probably the most, I wouldn't say the eye-opening thing. It wasn't surprising. Nothing surprised me about what was there and what the situations the officers faced, but the emotional and physical impact on me that time and all the rest of the classmates was something that we all talked about. So if you are interested, and I highly recommend everybody participate at some point in time, the next class is actually going to start up on September 1st. You can pull your application off of our website, and it's an 8-week course, and you go through a whole bunch of different things, but the scenario class was definitely one of the highlights all the way across. And the conversations that came after it were very, very, very real, and I'm always about those real conversations. We also have our Women's Defense class that's going to be starting up in just over a month. It's going to be April 4th, 6th, 11th, and 13th from 6 to 8:30. And then another class is starting in September, from September 6th, 7th, 12th, and 14th. Again, 6 to 8:30. You'll probably see some of those advertisements on our Facebook page. I know the Reynoldsburg Police Department has on their page, they have that listed up. But it is a women's defense class for those 12 years in age and older. It is a great class. We got a little brief of it when we were at the police academy, and it was just, it is something, unfortunately, that is needed in this day and age to make sure that everybody's as protected as they can be. So I do highly encourage you to take a look at that. Tonight we have our commission meetings. The first one is our Military Recognition Committee meeting. Talk a little bit about the Memorial Plaza. We're waiting on some designs for some monuments to recognize POWs and MIAs, as well as our Purple Heart City recognition that we have here in Reynoldsburg. And then we always have the ever-entertaining Traffic and Transportation. You may have heard through social media that the residents in and around Priestley Drive from Wagner to Quarry Park have asked and petitioned the city to actually put in speed bumps to deal with some longstanding issues that have been going on in that area because of speeding. So we'll probably touch on that a little bit tonight. We have a very general plan of where the speed bumps would go. So the residents that would be impacted, if it was right in front of your house, you got a letter. We've had a couple of people say that they didn't want it in front of their house, so we've altered some things. But we're going to talk a little bit about the process and why is it that we went to this step. This was not an easy step. This is something that we went to some stop signs. We had police enforcement in the area. We got a lot of good data. And so we're building a process where if you feel that there are areas in town that speeding is a consistent thing, that there's a process to go through. So the next step is all the residents that might be affected in that area that would have the speed bumps in their immediate vicinity are going to be notified by mail, or if I'm just walking down the street putting things at their door, to let them know when council is going to talk about the issue. So it'll be part of our roads program for 2022, and then council will have the ultimate decision on it with the feedback of the community. A petition was signed by a majority of residents in the area that was relatively in favor of this. Some people will say completely don't have a problem with this, that they don't work, or they're not going to last long, or they provide other obstacles, whether it's environmental issues or dealing with snowplows or things of that nature. The reality was the citizens in that area are very, very passionate about the conditions of their road. It's a narrow road all the way around, and the city has not, for whatever reason, been able to deal with those issues in a way that has made the residents, I don't want to say happy, but understanding of things. And so this is our attempt to try and find solutions to those problems, because that's kind of like what we're all about. We're here to help people solve some of those issues. So this pattern will then progress into other areas of town if residents feel the need. I know there's always a couple of ones. I live on Kingsley, and sometimes I feel like people are going a lot faster than they should, and I give them the old man get off my grass look as they're driving down the street. But then you also have Bryce Road north of Main Street is another area that's kind of those straight roads and things like that. Do I think speed bumps are the solution to all things? No, I don't. However, at the same time, we are here to serve the residents, and we're going to do what we can to help address their issues. So take a look at that one. So that's our military recognition and traffic and transportation. And then in a couple weeks from now, we'll have our next batch, but I did want to bring up an interesting one. We were actually recently notified of a potential for a composting program. So in addition to all the fun with trash, now there might be a possibility for residents to do something with composting. So we're going to get some information out to people on that. It's a pilot program. They would look for no more than 500 houses to participate, and we're just getting some of the details. But in an effort for us to find ways to, reduce our municipal waste and to, encourage, the sustainable style of life here in Reynoldsburg, that may be a direction that people might want to go in. We also got some information that the community is going to be faced with soon. We've talked about some of the flooding issues that have occurred in Reynoldsburg over the last couple of years, really the last couple of decades in all honesty. But we have submitted an application for a grant from FEMA and Army Corps of Engineers to do a comprehensive study of our waterways to address these flooding issues that are only getting worse because of issues like global warming and the environment. And so they're going to be asking for public commentary. And if there's anything I know that Reynoldsburg can really do well, it's public commentary. So we're going to go ahead and notify everybody to go ahead and actually reach out to an email that you'll get next week, that if you have questions, concerns, or experiences with flooding in Reynoldsburg, that they're going to ask. They want to hear all of that feedback. And the more feedback that they get, the better opportunity for our application to be approved, and so we can get this study done. That's a huge thing for us. So, we have a growing list of residents that have reached out to us at the city specifically about this issue. But if there's others out there, or if you suffered flooding yourself and you know that your neighbor might have too, but maybe they're not on the list, encourage them to go ahead and get ready to get that feedback in. There's going to be, I think it's 30 days that you're allowed to put that in. So you're going to be hearing about this a lot. But we really want to get this grant done because we want to start seeing some actual concrete options for how to solve the issue and fix the issues moving forward. And this grant will help us provide that information. So keep an eye out for that in the next week. We do have a great update. This is a fun one. We've got our Raider sports update. The girls basketball team ended up winning last night against Gahanna. So they're up again this Friday night at Westerville South versus Dublin Kaufman. So check that out if you want to go get tickets and support our Lady Raiders. But before that, we've got our team tonight. The boys team is going out and they're playing Pick North over at Central Crossing at 7 o'clock tonight. So again, it's a big day for the basketball team, so go out there and have some fun with that. And while we're talking about schools, did you know it's teacher job fair time? So you might have seen this on, is that good? All right. You might have seen this on some of the web pages. Obviously, teaching in this day and age with COVID and just in general is not an easy thing. So what I would recommend, if you have any interest or if you're looking to become a teacher in one of the best school districts in Ohio, please reach out. The virtual job fair for interviews are actually going to be Thursday, March 24th. And the times are going to be from 4 to 6:30 p.m. So if you are interested in becoming a teacher, please go ahead and reach out and look at the Reynoldsburg City School webpage, their Facebook page. We'll have it out on our page in the not-too-distant future, and you'll get it in Reynoldsburg Connects later on to be aware of it. Teaching is, I wouldn't be the person I am right now if it weren't for my time in the classroom. That's the one thing that I do miss about that is I miss the kids. I don't miss the bureaucracy because, wow, I don't get enough of it here. But I miss the kids, but it is a rewarding thing, but I would not be who I am today without those experiences in the classroom. So for all of you potential teachers out there, take a look at it. For those teachers that, are looking to get into a great district, Reynoldsburg's a great opportunity. Because they do things like this, pizza with the principal. Yeah, I know you had me at pizza, but pizza with the principal is actually an idea that was created by some of the administrative staff. It's going to be this Thursday, March 3rd. And it's going to be at the Livingston Cafeteria from 5:30 to 7. And they're inviting all parents and community members and things of that nature to come out to Summit, from Summit High School and the NINEX and the Livingston campus, to come out to the Livingston Cafeteria and just talk about education and talk about the things that are going on in our district and really in our community. Education has changed since I left. I mean, it's COVID, it's all of these other things. And then there's the things that have been around since we were all in school, but they're just different. Bullying is a huge issue in schools, and bullying is different today than what it was, when we were all in school. When we were in school, if we were bullied at school, we would be able to go home and then close our door and play video games or listen to music, and then we were done with it. Kids today don't have that option. It's social media, it's texting, it's all of these other different things that are out there. So please make sure that if you're interested in that and hearing some of the things that are going on and how we're trying to address those problems in the district, this is your opportunity to go out and make your voices heard. Obviously, you're free to contact administrators at every time. This time, they're just giving you pizza too. So, like I said, I would take advantage of that. We also have our Reynoldsburg Band and Orchestra Mattress fundraiser this Saturday, March 5th, from 10 to 4. This is one of the oddest fundraisers that I've ever heard because you're going to go buy a mattress. Usually that's not how it goes, but in this case, they're able to pass on the savings from not having like a brick and mortar building to sell their mattresses. So they pass on those savings to those programs like band and orchestra. So come on out. It's this weekend, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Livingston campus. So go ahead and take a look at that. You mentioned Kim earlier from our Parks and Rec department. I wanted to give a huge shout out to Straders for donating materials for the first ever Smash Art class that happened last night. And it's exactly what it sounds. They smashed things and made art. You had me at Smash Things. So we'll get some examples of that stuff. I know that there were some pictures on the Parks and Rec page out there. But what we're trying to do with our Parks and Rec department is obviously we have great youth athletic programs. We've got baseball, we've got softball, we've got soccer, we've got basketball, all of these things. But there are other things that we want to incorporate too. In this case, art is one of them. So we're going to have some of those things out there, as well as COSI Science Day. Today's the last day to register if you have a child that's between the ages of 8 and 12 that would like to go out to COSI this Friday and participate in COSI Science Day. You can register on the Parks and Rec page at the Rec Desk and take a look at that. I think there's just a few spots left, but again, if you want to take that advantage, go ahead and go out. I think most of Reynoldsburg, I think, is closed on Friday, so take advantage of those in case you want to. We also have, some people will like it, I don't know, everybody will, the Realm of Reptiles. You actually get to hang out with all sorts of different kind of reptiles and have lunch, and I see a lot of shaking no heads here in the office, so apparently we're not going to be there for that one. But if you do enjoy that, it's another opportunity for our Parks and Rec department. We also have our Girl Scout cookie sale, again, this Friday from 5 to 7 and Saturday from 10 to 6 at PNC, or they may come over to this City Hall and do it in the City Hall area. So, all right, I'm going to ask you a very serious question. Where do you stand on serving sizes of Thin Mints? So my understanding is a serving size of Thin Mints is 1 sleeve of cookies. That's what I believe a serving size is. If it was something less than that, then the serving size would be packaged individually. So you would have that out there. Thin Mints leads me to falsely believe that only 4 cookies is a serving size. I think that's false news. I think that's horrible and un-American. I'm a big favor of the whole sleeve, but you don't have to agree with me, but I'm just saying.
No, I know. It's very difficult. It's so tempting because they're so delicious and they're so, they're small. Mm-hmm. So you think, oh, well, just one more. And then you realize you threw half the sleeve.
Well, see, that's again, but in my opinion, that's less than half the serving. So you're all good. So if you want some of those things, go ahead and take a look at those, bring those out. Tomorrow we do have the Chamber of Commerce lunch where they've invited me. This was originally scheduled for February, but I'm going to be going tomorrow, and this is going to be kind of a continuation of the state of the city. So we're going to talk about a lot of things that are going on in the city a little bit more in depth, and I'll have be able to answer some questions for it. Apparently it seems to be a relatively packed house. I think they've got a good number of people coming. So if you're interested, it's at the Reynoldsburg United Methodist Church. Everybody can kind of go in starting about 11:30. I'll start a little after 12, but you do need to register ahead of time to make sure that they have food for you because it is a lunch thing. So keep that in mind. Speaking of food, we have the spaghetti dinner sponsored by the Reynoldsburg Community Association on March 26th. That's a Saturday night at Messiah Lutheran Church. Great spaghetti. It's a great fundraiser for our community association that helps put on our 4th of July festival, our Halloween event, Christmas on the Town. So this is their big fundraiser to generate revenue for that. Plus, it's great food. If you're interested, Chuck Cochran is standing by right on his phone right now as we speak at 614-580-7218. You can buy at the door, but always give Chuck a call early. He's not doing anything today. Last night we had our first Tuesday of the month volunteer meeting for the Tomato Festival, so we got some information like that. So if you're interested in participating, making suggestions, feel free and come on out. And while we're talking about the Tomato Festival, again, the application window for the royalty court for the pageant is opening up on April 1st. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and check out the webpage and contact Michelle Brennan. She'll have all that information for you. I know a lot of information here. I apologize about that. Next, we have our next fireside chat is actually next week on the 9th, and we will have State Senator Tina Maharath joining us. So she will be talking a little bit about what's going on at the State House. Nothing controversial going on at the State House at all right now. So we'll have her on, and she'll probably share her expertise. Maybe something will be settled by then, maybe not, but we'll see. Do we have any questions? Anything coming across? All right, you and I both have escaped it. So I'm so thankful that you were able to come here today. I really appreciate it. Some great information. Everybody, again, please reach out to Lori if you have questions about anything to do with income tax. And again, RETA is something that's out there that we all have to deal with on a regular basis. So we want to find ways to make it successful so you don't have issues. So reach out to RETA, reach out to us, and we'll help with those things. In the meantime, I hope everybody stays safe. Enjoy the nice weather for the next day or so. And please remember to put your shopping carts away. It's not very difficult to do. Thank you very much. Thanks again, and have a great week, everybody. We'll see you.